Okay.
Welcome, everyone, to the session Building a Team of Superheroes. I know when I first saw the name, I was like, I want to be in that session. I have no clue what it's about, but superheroes are cool. So I'm sure it's going to be great. My
Awesome.
name's Audrey Moore. I am a configurin, and I am also your room buddy for the session. I'm sure you've all been to 1,000 sessions now, so you know the housekeeping rules, but I have to repeat them anyway, just in case this is someone's first session. So we are using Zoom Webinar. Of course, everybody's been using Zoom forever now, right? But most of the time you're using Zoom Meeting. So webinar is a little different. You have the chat window. You also, with the webinar version, have the Q&A as well. So if you have just a comment that you want to share, you can do that in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat throughout, and everybody else can kind of chat in there as well. The Q&A is going to be if you have questions specific to the presentation that you want Tamara or Ginger to answer. So you can type those in there, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Um, you will be muted throughout. If you, again, at the end during the Q&A session, if you have a question that might be easier to just say than to try to type out, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you at that point, or allow you to unmute yourself rather. Two more things. CEUs, if you are keeping track of those, open up that CET designer drawing, and my initials are AM. They're the really, really big, obnoxiously scribbled initials. I didn't know we were supposed to make them small and concise, so they're easy to spot. So just A to copy, and copy that into the slot for building a team of superheroes. Last housekeeping thing, and this one is unique to this session. So even if you've heard housekeeping 30 million times, this one's new. So as Ginger mentioned earlier, there's a poll website that you can go to. It's on the bottom of the screen right now in red, and it'll be on the slides as well. So if you don't get it fast enough, so go join the poll and you can participate throughout as well. So that's all the housekeeping stuff. So I'd like to introduce you to your presenters. We have Ginger Cookson and Tamara Campbell. They both work for Kimiko, and let's see, fun facts about them. Ginger is a big reality TV show junkie. So she likes The Bachelor and Bachelorette and Survivor and more. Probably name a reality show, she probably is into it. I love that. And Tamara was in Footloose in high school, and she still has every word from every song memorized. So super impressive memory there.
Right.
Uh, so without further ado, Tamara and Ginger.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So I'm Ginger Cookson, the design director and furniture maestro of Kamiko Designs.
And I'm Tamara Campbell, furniture and CET guru with Kamiko Designs.
And we have a little bit of housekeeping on our end as well. Some of it we've already talked about, but we'll be taking questions at the end. The session is going to be recorded. Keep your Zoom chat box and your Zoom Q&A box open because we'll be asking you to type things in as we go along. In addition to the poll, we're also going to be asking you some questions, so we want you to type some answers in at that point. And then there's the poll link one more time. Hopefully you guys are able to sign in because we want to make sure that you're counted in our poll. So today we're going to be sharing with you our secrets for building a team of superheroes. Imagine that you had a team where you didn't have to do everything yourself. What if you could find designers who had superpowers, like specifying faster than the speed of sound, or who were more accurate than is humanly possible? What if you had a team who could handle any problem or task that came along, like the Avengers? They are exceptionally strong with amazing individual talents, and they work together for the common good. Is it truly possible, or is it just something that we see in the movies? At Kamiko Designs, we've found that if you create the vision and begin to build it, they will come. Disclaimer, you may need to kiss a few frogs along the way, but we'll get to that later. So, in the next hour, we're going to share with you Kamiko's secret sauce that we've crafted over the last 21 years for designing a dependable and sustainable team of superheroes that you know can handle anything and will allow you to go home confidently at 5 for dinner. We know your time is valuable, so we really thank you for spending it with us. And stick around till the end because we have a special offer for attendees of this session. So, some of you might be asking, why does this matter? Some of you might be thinking, I got this. I don't need any help. Or some of you might be thinking, I don't have time for this because I'm too busy trying to get the work done. Maybe some of you aren't even responsible for hiring the designers and feel like you don't have enough time or you don't have enough input to build the team that you want to build. So at Kamiko, we had an influx of work coming in, and we also wanted to branch out into some other areas and break new ground. And we knew that we couldn't do what we wanted if we didn't build up our team. At first glance, it was a daunting task for sure, but we were up for the challenge. So we want to encourage you to shoot for the stars because a great team is possible and it can help you have both a career and a life. The greatest companies in the world spend lots of time, effort, and money finding the right people, building strong teams, and curating their company culture.
Over the last 21 years, we have partnered with hundreds of dealers and have watched them struggle because they didn't put forth a lot of time, effort, or money to find the right people. This put a strain on the designers, the design manager, and even the salespeople because things weren't being done as well or as effectively as they could have been.
Does this sound familiar to anyone out there? Surely not. All right, how many of you are good at all the things? How many of you have time to do all the things? How many of you put expectations on yourself and think that you should be all the things? We know these expectations just aren't realistic. So we're here to help you stop shooting all over yourself. It's time to think about resource conservation. So when you have a strong team, then you can invest your time in the things that you do best as a manager and bring in your team to take care of the rest. Crafting a culture of authenticity and trust attracts amazing people and sets your company apart from the rest. Playing to everyone's strengths and putting people in the right seats will solidify a foundation for the future. Ensuring your team is engaged and doing what they love equals maximum productivity and effectiveness. And lastly, creating happiness for your team is what we call at Kamiko a win 3D, which is a win for you and your designers, a win for your company, and a win for your clients.
And all of these things assemble a superhero team ready to take on the furniture world. And we have a poll coming up, so be sure to do that link at the bottom of the slide. I want you to think about the struggles you're having in building a team. We're going to highlight the challenges we and our furniture friends have encountered. First of all, not having the right person. Have you had a lot of spec errors? Have you seen bad communication turn into too many revisions, which makes for dissatisfied customers? Is someone taking way too long to do what everyone else is doing in half the time? Does the job suck the life out of the designer?
It may sound funny, but that may mean that the person just isn't right for this job, or it could mean that they're just not in the right seat.
And let's talk about the implications on the cost of employee turnover. Time on training, production delays, incomplete projects you're left picking up the pieces on. It takes 8 months to reach full productivity where they're comfortable with the job, but another 6 before they'll be confident in it. There is so much information to soak in, and that just takes time. Because of all of that, the more accurate you can be in hiring the right person, the less you'll have to deal with these hurdles. And that comes with practice. So, we want to hear from you about the hurdles you've encountered. So, on the poll, if you will pull up and submit one word answers, you to build a word cloud. So, what hurdles have you encountered?
Yes. Funding. Yes.
Yeah,
Always. Inexperience. Okay. Education errors. Nice. Time.
time.
Yeah, time is a big one. Errors,
Yes.
huge. That's awesome.
Capacity, absolutely.
Yes. Engagement. Yeah. Love it. Yes, there's a lot out there.
Yep. Time is staying in the red. I think that's
The
the big
biggest
one.
one. Right.
And we appreciate you sharing your insights, and we want you to know you're not alone. We have found that these are often the top obstacles managers encounter when building a team.
So before we built our team at Kamiko, it was really easy to get caught up in the daily furniture emergencies. You all know what I'm talking about, and not have time to think about growing the team. I thought I could juggle everything, but balls kept dropping. And finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. I knew I had to find a solution. So maybe for me, for you guys, just like me, maybe it's time for you to get out of your own way.
The first step is admitting you have a problem and that you can't do it all yourself. We all need a team. It's not sustainable to think you can be all things. Working as a team optimizes solutions to play off each other's unique strengths. To find a team of unicorns, you must be willing to face the challenge, make a commitment, and follow through. It's important to determine what strengths you have in your department and identify the gaps you need to fill.
So, to be clear, a gap is a hole in your department or a superpower that your department is missing. Since there's a lot of remote work going on these days, the gaps in your department might be crystal clear because you're apart. Or on the flip side, the gaps might not be as noticeable and could be in your blind spot right now. Whatever the scenario you relate to the most, let's start by defining some of the superheroes that could help strengthen your team and fill those gaps. We've identified 5 types of superheroes. So, first, we have the superhero with technical powers who can rattle off part numbers off the top of their heads. They know stability guidelines by heart and exactly which leg, bracket, or accessory will be price competitive and still functional. Basically, a product whiz kid. Then there are superheroes with procedural powers. They know exactly where a file is, or how presentations should be branded, and how to create consistency. They will also typically have a checklist for everything you can think of and more. And just remember, if this is not your strength as a design manager, then it doesn't have to be you. The third superhero has technological powers. They want to wow clients. They want to have the newest iPhone, and they are the go to tech gurus. They are probably really thriving working from home because they are leveraging all the technology. Kamiko's resident technological guru is Kevin. You guys may know Kevin from our tips and tricks webinars that we started this summer. He is one of our CET experts. Superhero number 4 has creative powers. They know all about the unique products that each manufacturer offers and how to position them. When designing, they're also usually really good at remembering fabrics and coming up with unique solutions to fit every budget. These are the type that coworkers go to with questions like, "Hey, I'm looking for this. Can you help?" And last but not least, number 5 is the large account specialist. Their superpower is orchestrating, being in control, and arranging everything. Like Nick Fury, who assembled and led the whole Avengers team. They usually have highly organized systems, remembering customer and project details off the top of their heads, or they can find it really fast in their organizational system. They are meticulous in crossing every T and dotting every I. At Kamiko, our large account specialist is Brandy. We call her the octopus because she can juggle literally a million things at once without dropping any balls. Amazing. So, when assessing your team, there are 5 things to consider when creating your process. Number 1, assess skill sets. Look at who you have on your team currently and their personalities and skill sets. Then consider different vantage points. Assess who your designers work with internally and try to put complementary personalities together if possible. Then fill the gaps. Now you can create the list of superpowers that you need and then go find those superheroes. Fourth, test it out. You've created the plan of attack and now you have to let it play out to see what needs tweaking. And fifth, create a win 3D. A win for your department, a win for your company, and a win for your clients.
Rinse and repeat. This isn't a one-time thing, but a continuous process. It's a good idea to revisit your plan of attack annually, just like keeping your process manual updated.
Yes, absolutely. So, this is the first of 5 power ups that we'll discuss. And a power up is like giving you more power with what you already have in your toolbox. So, this first power up is developing someone on your team by enhancing his or her skills. You can provide training programs and development opportunities that expand their abilities and minimize skill gaps. Maybe it's one of your rising stars. And also remember that developing means delegating. So, something for you guys to keep in mind.
And are there people already on your team who could upskill and give them opportunities for growth? Think of areas like the vertical market specialist, like healthcare, higher ed, K 12, corporate, or they could be product specialists like ancillary, ergonomics, walls. They could be a creative thought leader or somebody that can work on process improvement or somebody that's really good with the technology and software and testing out all the new tech, knowing all the bugs and the workarounds.
This can be a really easy way to advance the designers on your team. One way to document opportunity and growth tracks could be a career map. So we're going to take another quick poll to see how many of you have a career map. So go to your devices where you have the polls pulled up and let us know. So this is the career map for each individual designer. Just remember that having predetermined paths can inspire designers and give them something to aspire to. Okay, so where are we landing? Looks like 52% no. Some are working on it. Okay, some yeses. So I would say, and 10% should I. So I would say to the no's and the should I's, just remember that lack of development and career growth is the number one reason that people quit, according to Gallup.com. So I feel like, yes, definitely that is something to put in your arsenal and develop. And I know again that takes time, but I think it really is important if you're wanting to build a team and to maintain a team as well. All right, thanks for being a part of that. So we have a career map for each individual, but when looking at the department as a whole, it's nice for us visual learners to be able to map out company structure and hierarchy. So how many of you already have an organizational chart developed? Okay. Most of you have one. That's awesome. Although not as climbing. No, still good. Okay. Well, great. I just think that it's such a great visual aid. Even though in your head you may have that already known, but I think it's great to be able to see it on paper. And then you can also kind of move it around like Tetris or something. It makes it kind of fun. So something to think about for you guys out there that don't have one.
All right, so now you know what you have, what you need, how you want to structure it. So let's talk about actually filling those gaps. There are a lot of things to think about when hiring. It's important to look at all the things and not just base your decision on one thing because people are more than the sum of their parts. Make a wish list. When making your wish list, you can think about the 5 types we discussed earlier. Do you need a technical person to double check everyone's work? Or do you need a large account specialist to take over a monstrous project? Also, think about company culture. Alignment of cultures fosters everyone moving in the same direction. Our culture at Kamiko champions the individual, their strengths, and their own wish list. And creating this wish list can be a group activity to get your designers engaged and participating in the process. When they are invested in the outcome, it can have a powerful impact and enhance the company culture. For a balanced wish list, be sure to cover all the things. Strengths. These are more soft skills such as effective communications. Skills. These are more technical superpowers like software proficiencies. Perspectives such as generational upbringing. And experience is pretty self explanatory as their past job history. And make these hiring considerations fun by thinking outside the cube. So let's play a game of Would You Rather over in the chat box and tell me if you would rather watch Netflix or Hulu.
Okay, Audrey's going to help us field this. Who's winning?
Hulu came in fast, but Netflix
Okay,
is
we
taking
got
them over.
yeah, we started out with 2 Hulus, but overwhelmingly Netflix. I know my answer is Netflix.
Nice. Yep, mine too. But to
Netflix,
be fair,
Netflix. We got a Netflix
Yeah.
@! From
Yeah.
that was me. I was typing too fast because I wanted to watch.
Hulu
We got
has more
Hulu
cooking
has more
shows.
cooking shows. Yep.
That's hilarious. To be fair, I've never watched Hulu, so I guess I can't really be partial, but
Well, yeah, don't get me started on Hulu.
all right. Moving on.
Anyway, all right, I'm out. Netflix wins.
Would you rather hire a designer with 3D visual skills or technical specification skills?
Oh, I just want to, Kathleen, it's different. It's just in the chat box. We're just asking the questions here in the presentation, so it's not part of the poll, but that's a great thing to bring up just in case that's confusing for everybody else. Yeah.
Looks like we've got lots of technical specification skills, a couple 3D visual skills, but looks like only 2 so far.
'Kay.
3. Oh, Melissa says or Melinda says you can teach me 3D or the 3D.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Okay.
Another fun one. Would you rather be entertained by TikTok or YouTube? Has quarantine gotten anybody else addicted to TikTok? Is it just me?
this is like a good mix.
Yeah.
Hard to track.
You can learn anything on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even how to be a plumber. If you want to.
I feel like TikTok, ooh, what did I even say? TikTok is like for young people. I feel so old when I look at it. I'm like, I don't understand.
That's
Give it a
great.
week and then you'll be addicted.
Probably, yeah.
Nice.
Uh, Would you rather hire somebody who is lightning fast but maybe makes a few errors, or a designer who is slow and methodical with no errors?
Okay.
Lots of pausing here.
I know somebody said both. I was like, that's
Yeah.
my answer.
Like, do I have to pick one?
I want it all.
On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you'll be a bunny rabbit, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Right?
This one looks like it's kind of an even one as well,
Yeah, interesting.
actually.
Okay.
Mhm.
and the question that
TBD.
always comes up: do you buy an iPhone or an Android?
And
Very
are you
strong
happy about your
opinions.
decision? Oh, lots of iPhones,
Okay.
one Android so far, two Androids, three, four. Teresa's excited about the Androids.
Google Pixel.
Couple Androids, but definitely iPhones win the day.
I feel like that's kind of how I feel in the design industry. I'm one of the few I'm an Android person.
Oh.
All of our developers are all Android people, with only a few exceptions, but I think with the design world it's flipped.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. It's funny.
Would you rather hire straight from school or
I like
someone
stuff
with
design.
5 to 10 years experience?
Yes, another hot topic.
Hot topic.
Experience, one school, two schools, three schools. Depends. Both. We got
Both.
another both. Make up your mind. Half and a half. Depends on what you need.
Okay.
Looks like mostly experience, but
Yeah.
a couple of
Good.
schools being able
Maybe
to
a third
train
school.
the way you want them.
Yeah. Okay.
And one
Cool.
last fun one, and this might show generational gaps that we have here. It's, you get social on Facebook or Instagram.
Insta all the way.
I love that. Twitter. That's not an answer, David.
No, wait. No.
I forget about Twitter because I can't Twitter. I don't.
You can't
Do it
Twitter,
for
huh?
the gram. This one also looks like a fair mix.
That's great.
Surprisingly, it seemed like most people lean towards experience, and college grads versus experience is always a hot topic. In my personal
Okay, sorry.
experience, designers straight out of
Great.
college learn technology and via online platforms so much faster. Because they're learning Revit in school and Revit works in a similar way to CET, recent college grad designers typically learn CET faster. Designers with more furniture experience but a CAD based background can often take longer to learn how to navigate the 3D of CET because it's a totally different animal than CAD.
Yes, absolutely. And I love how you say a CAD-based background. It almost sounded like a CAD-based background. It's just because you've not used it, Tamara. It's okay. Like,
I
all
was on the
right.
cusp. I was
I
right
know.
there.
Yeah. You're like all CET all the time.
All CET.
Anyway, you may be surprised to find things fulfilled from your wish list where you least expect it. So don't be biased one way or the other, but stay open minded when you're looking for people for sure.
And here's another hot topic: attitude versus aptitude. At Kamiko, we believe that designers with a great attitude can be trained, but they can have the best attitude in the world. And if this is not the right job for them, they will still not work out. Have you ever been in this situation where you absolutely love the person, but he or she just wasn't thriving in that job role? Skills can be developed, people can be shifted around, but a bad attitude is hard to overcome. And when thinking about benefits, do some research in your city to see if the pay and benefits your company is offering is competitive.
Yeah, see who has a ball pit.
Benefits are not always money related. They can be the culture of your company. If your company hosts fun activities or has a party committee, this is something that is just as important. It could be a deciding factor, especially for the millennial generation. With social distancing, take your online interviews up a level with a 3D scan of your showroom so that they can experience the office. Some dealers have had such success that we bought the technology to do these 3D scans, and you can reach out to us if you want to know more about those. And how's your onboarding program? The quality of your onboarding program is something for you to consider and share with the potential hires. It is important to them, and they will be comparing against other opportunities. Urbanbound.com states that 69% of employees are more likely to stay with a company for 3 years if they experience great onboarding. And remember, onboarding is a responsibility that can be broken out and delegated to others in your department. It doesn't just fall on you. And let's talk about generations. The formative experiences in each generation can impact how they see the world, do their work, and interact with others.
There are definite benefits to generational diversity, but also be aware of some of the possible challenges. So, some of the benefits would be knowledge sharing, different perspectives, different life experiences, and possibly an improved customer experience because of it. But then some of the challenges could be lack of shared interests between generations, difference in working styles, and difference in communication styles.
And some examples of those communication styles: boomers are going to get up and walk over and have that conversation with you face to face, where Gen X is probably going to pick up the phone and call the person, where millennial, like me, is going to send an email, and Gen Z is more likely to send a text or use an instant message. And Gen Z doesn't check their emails.
Yeah, so you may have to train them on emails.
So, how does your dealership line up with the Census Bureau? There are currently 3 to 5 generations working together, and it has to be something to consider when building your team. So, back on your poll everywhere poll,
Oh, say that one more time. Or I probably just didn't hear that because it looks like people are hitting the
yeah,
survey. Cut out.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. What generation is most represented in your dealership?
Yes. And then we all
I
have
don't think there
bets.
is. Is there? There's a Gen Z. I'm surprised at that.
Yeah, no kidding. So Gen Z is what was the age? 24?
Yeah, I think it's
Oh, she
24.
hit the wrong button. She said we're like, wow, that's like really young
In a
company.
design department, that wouldn't surprise me, but and when you start talking about, like, an overall for your dealership, I it seems to it seems to be shifting, but it's has your dealership made that shift
Yeah.
yet? So, millennial
Yeah,
is the front runner.
68% for
And this
sure.
I mean, this is just another factor to consider when assessing your team and figuring out how to make it stronger.
Hmm.
So now you have a list of all the things you want and have built an idea in your head about your superhero team. So let's talk about where to find them. When starting to look for designers, think about who are the people who are really well connected. Who are the people who can help you broaden your reach, like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like manufacturers reps, professors at design schools. Always have someone on your team who is involved in a design associations like ASID or IIDA to expand your network. We would also recommend you interview even when you're not hiring. This is about expanding your network as well as creating a reserve of candidates. And don't forget to ask your team if they know anyone. Maybe they have a clone or a twin. Offer some sort of finder's fee or incentive to help motivate and also thank people for their time and connections. If you have a larger budget, reach out to industry specific recruiters. They will have a significant network to pull from. And of course, there are lots of online resources available for finding great people. Here are some of our favorites. We have had the most success with Indeed and know people who had success with workable.com as well.
So one of the great things about online postings is that they can reach designers from all over. And now that remote working is not so scary anymore, this opens up a ton of possibilities for hiring.
Which brings us up to this power up, which this is something we can totally speak to since all of us at Kamiko work remotely and have been for the last 21 years. It's all about building connection with your team and setting checkpoints to make sure deadlines and expectations are being met. By now, you've probably cleared the hurdle of working remotely and managing your team remotely. So think about looking in other markets and have someone work remotely. It opens up your possibilities. You don't just have your current market to pull from, you have the entire nation. Think about people who used to work for you but had life changes, like having kids or moving away. Hiring remote workers can also allow you to source designers from an area that has a lower cost of living. Get creative in your search. There are all kinds of benefits to thinking outside the cube. Okay, so we've talked about where to look and how to get creative. Now let's talk about the audience because different generations have different ways of communicating. They will also look for jobs in different ways. Make sure when posting ads for positions, you post on varied recruitment channels as well as change the verbiage to appeal to various generations. Tailor the ad specifically to your audience.
Let's look at each generation's go to for job searching. So, boomers will utilize their network and they will often find jobs by word of mouth, whereas Gen X will use online platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed, etc., and they'll also reach out to their network. Millennials will search on multiple platforms as well as company websites, and they are likely to hear of openings through social groups online. And then Gen Z will seek out companies that they'd like to work for, and they'll look on their websites and their social media for job postings or who to contact for careers.
Wherever you post the job, make sure your job description is clear and informative, describing what the job will act and market to potential employees the same way you market to potential customers. And power up number three is utilizing interns, which I did notice somebody mentioned in the chat.
Mm.
It's the best way to find young designers with great potential and test drive to see if they're interested or excel in furniture. To find interns, you need to keep in contact with local and top design schools. And remember, they're just as scared of you as you are of them.
Yeah, get them doing actual work outside of the resource library by sending them on field visits or customer presentations. Take them to installations, show them how the product goes together. Also showing them the project management side of furniture. And then also remember that Gen Z are internet whiz kids. And so use that to your advantage and have them help with social media.
There are so many things to do with interns. Not only does it help you, but it also helps them learn. And it continues building your network of who you know. And if this sounds like a big task to take on that you're not really up for, then get some people on your team to head this up. Need a superhero, but just for one movie? If you have a younger team, outsourcing can help you pull in the senior level design expertise necessary at your demand without the long term commitment of hiring someone. It can also help you meet challenges presented by extenuating circumstances like online schooling or medical leave, and it can buy you the time you need to find the right long term employee. Outsourcing double checks to a senior designer who can give feedback to those who aren't as experienced is a built in training opportunity as well. Contract design work is our specialty. So if you have questions, please contact us afterwards. We'd love to help.
And now for the good stuff. So these bonus tools will assist you in assessing your team, filling the gaps, and building a crew of superheroes. Do you sometimes feel like Elastigirl or Gumby being pulled in all directions, especially adding interviewing and hiring to your to do list? Tools like the Disc Profile and Strengths Finder can be super helpful when hiring. They both give you insights about a person that you wouldn't be able to discern in a 30 to 60-minute interview. At Kamiko, everyone on our team and potential hires take both assessments. The DISC profile helps us figure out how to fill the gaps, and StrengthsFinder helps us find the superpowers that we're looking for. Both are also used on our team to cultivate a strong team and foster healthy communication. To give you a little insight into the DISC profile, here are the 4 behavioral types. See if you recognize any of these characteristics within your department. At Kamiko, when looking for furniture specifiers, we usually seek out people that have high S's and high C's because they are typically detail oriented and they will take the time to look up information so that they can do things right the first time. We also know that most salespeople are high D's and high I's because they are fast moving, very competitive, very social, and think that rules are meant to be broken. Keep in mind because there are always other factors at play, like motivators or life events. Tamara is actually an exception to the rule. She is a high D, so her profile is different than most of our other designers. And this was an intentional choice on our part because we were looking for designers who would be willing to take on leadership roles within the company. And that typically is seen in people who are high Ds. There's a lot to the DISC profile, and we're just scratching the surface. So if you're curious and you'd like to know more, please reach out after the conference. We are curious on how our audience breaks out. So we want to take another survey, another poll. Tell us if you think you are a high D, an I, an S, or a C. High D, okay. That's great. I figured there'd probably be a lot of S's, so that doesn't surprise me. So awesome. Thank you guys. So let's talk about superpowers now. I love Clifton Strength Finders because it focuses on the positive, what people enjoy and what they do well. When I look at my team's top 5 strengths, I can quickly identify what each person is good at and what they gravitate toward. When I find out what people's superpowers are, then that also helps me to fill the gaps on our team and put people in the right seats. To give you some insight into StrengthsFinder and how it plays out on our team, we'll use myself and Tamara as examples. 2 of my strengths are arranger and achiever. I like to orchestrate things with lots of moving parts and get stuff done. These strengths play out when I pair up our designers with projects or when I design and implement training and development programs for our dealers.
And 2 of my strengths are strategic and learner. I like to look at the big picture, which then helps me formulate the details. And I also love to learn. My strengths play out in my ability to successfully run large projects and to train dealers on CET efficiencies.
So, Gallup scientists found that people who use their strengths at work are more engaged in their jobs and are 3 times more likely to report a high quality of life than those who do not. Definitely a win 3D. Some other tools that are similar but are free are truity.com. So on this website, they have several different tests that you can take, like Myers Briggs, DISC, Enneagram, the big step portion, you get a portion of the results back for free, and then you can pay to get more results. And then there's 16personalities.com. So this one actually has very detailed results. It talks about strengths and weaknesses, friendships, career paths, workplace habits, all kinds of different things.
So, even if you don't have a budget, these tools are extremely helpful and absolutely free. And we feel like it's more important to gain insight about a person in a short amount of time and not so much about which tool you use.
Absolutely. When interviewing, it's a good idea to give a CET assessment to help measure the level of experience that a designer has. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, it could just be a single workstation. And if there are specific things that you're looking for, like maybe how well they can render, then put those things in the assessment. Have the designer complete the evaluation, which right now is going to be online and virtually, and then you can review everything together. You'll find out how proficient they are at the software, how well they follow directions, if they're methodical in approach, all kinds of things. It just helps add another level of insight that you can't get from just talking to someone. So, building a team of superheroes, is this real, you ask? And I say, yes, absolutely. Can literally be a part time job. Most everyone feels overwhelmed when looking to hire and building a team. So, we all need a little Jedi conviction in our lives sometimes.
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No, no different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
So, if you want your apprentices to become masters, then you have to put in the time it takes to create a strong team of Jedis. We know that you're juggling everything from projects to personnel, but this is one of the most important commitments that you'll ever make for your department and your company. So make the hiring process a priority and build your dream team. And remember, having a strong team of heavy hitters is going to mean that you don't have to do it all. It is definitely worth it. Like any big initiative, you'll need a plan for building your team. It will help you stay focused on where you want to go. Spend some time designing interview questions that will help you hone in on qualities that you're looking for in a designer. Keep your questions open ended so that you get longer responses and you get a better feel for what people are really like. Some questions I often ask are, what are your favorite types of projects? Or what are your least favorite type of projects? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? If you could design your ideal job, what would that be? I like to ask a variety of questions so that I gain insight about their experience, their personality, and whether they would be a good cultural fit within Kamiko. Now, let's talk about time. I know we don't feel like we have enough time, probably ever. So, when you're in hiring mode, schedule time into each day or week to spend on staffing. Treat team building as a project, scheduling it on your calendar and giving it the time it deserves. Have your rising star or others on your team pre screen candidates so that, again, you don't have to do it all and you get different perspectives about the person that you're interviewing. It also creates a built in training opportunity, allowing someone else on your team to grow from the experience. So divide and conquer. You must also be willing to kiss a few frogs along the way. If you drag the process out too long from indecision and analysis paralysis, you'll probably end up losing good people. And since you don't have a crystal ball, sometimes you just have to try people out to know if they will work out or not. I once hired someone because I just felt deep down that we needed to have this person on our team. I wasn't totally clear on what her role would be, but once she started, it became crystal clear that she was perfect as a creative conceptual designer. So, to be quite honest, I was dumbfounded about how things fell into place. But the moral of that story is go with your gut. And also, we have an intentional 90-day checkpoint with new hires so that if things aren't working out for them or for us, we can evaluate at that point how to move forward. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but I encourage you to not be afraid of the unknown. In fact, I would even say embrace it. But I also know that that sounds totally crazy, kind of like embracing skydiving. I have found that the more that I operate in the unknown, the greater the possibilities. When I'm in team building mode, I just keep moving forward, listen to my inner wisdom, and learn as I go. Some really beautiful things can come from the unknown.
Whew. Okay. You got all that work done. You got your superheroes. Now, how do you go and save the day? Creating an autonomous team ultimately allows you to go home for dinner and get some sleep at night. This also creates an automatic backup for you so you don't have to be there. Get the right people in place, trust them enough to make decisions, and then they will thrive and also appreciate the freedom. Lee Iacocca once said, I hire people brighter than me and get out of their way. Once you've crafted your team, you have to support and fine tune the team. Build a genuine relationship with each person on your team by spending quality one on one time with them. Be intentional about how and when you connect with your team, even if they work remotely. At Kamiko, we often have check-ins with our designers and ask them what they've enjoyed working on in the past few months so we can find more of that type of work. It's a win 3D for sure. You get to have a life, living happily ever after. Once everyone is in place and things are working well, have faith in your team and let them do their job. Give them the space to excel and shine. That's why you hired them. And just remember, furniture is not a four-letter word. And before we get to questions, we have a few last items. And first, we want to know where everyone is from. So grab your mobile device and let us know where you're from. We love to hear from furniture friends.
Toronto. All right. Nice. Phoenix, Lansing, Detroit, Cincinnati,
Grand
Grand
Rapids
Rapids.
got big fast.
Yeah. Philadelphia, Iowa, Chicago, Maryland. That's awesome.
Texas, someone close to me. I'm in Arkansas, in a teeny tiny little town.
Suburbs. That's
Yep.
funny. All right. Awesome. Guys are from all over. Love
And
it.
here's how you can find us, our website and LinkedIn. You can email us. And we want to make a special offer as a thank you for attending our session. So if you email us by the end of the day, Friday, we'll set up a free 30-minute consultation regarding any of the topics we covered today. And now we're going to open it up for questions.
All right, we got some good ones here.
Oh, good.
So, first up, a question from Nicole. For a new employee, if starting with little to no experience as a dealer designer, about how long after they get used to the position would you recommend to wait before developing a career map for them?
Hmm. That's a good question. Tamara, any input on that before I answer?
I feel like if you don't have something set up within 6 months to a year, they might get antsy. I kind of feel like career maps are something that's kind of set in stone in your dealership anyways. Is it starting as a junior designer and then moving up to a senior designer? Are there milestones they have to hit before they can get a senior design title? Is it moving different paths towards healthcare, things like that? It's just setting up milestones so that they have something to achieve, especially when you're straight out of college and they start seeing some of the things that their friends they went to college with are working on. It might start to get a little, oh, I'm not doing what they're doing kind of thing. So just having something set up from the get-go would probably be the best suggestion.
Yeah, I think, like she said, like, I think the career paths are gonna be there's not gonna be a ton of options, so, I think it's pretty easy to kinda do that for everybody, and then you can tweak it as they grow and go along their path. Good question.
Beautiful. Yeah. Next up from Sydney, are there any opinions on paid versus unpaid interns during COVID? We don't really have the funds to have them on staff paid currently.
Um, I mean, I would say even if it's, I don't know, pay maybe it's not monetary, like, maybe it's something else, I don't know, but maybe think of just some way to be have a generous offer for them for their time. Um, any other comments, Tamara, that you would say?
Um, the schools here are actually pretty opinionated about it not being paid.
Mm,
And I think they do that mainly so that they have more opportunities for all the students. Um, Most of the time when I find that it's a paid internship in my area, it's mainly for liability purposes. So if
mm,
the intern is doing something, they're on a job site and they get hurt, it's one of those type things. It's kind of
yeah,
50-50 where I'm at, paid or unpaid.
mm. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, but I think, if you're not able to pay, that come up with some other things
Yeah.
that make them feel valued, I guess, and that they're getting
Yeah.
a great experience.
Yeah, especially if they're a senior, like offer them time to help review maybe some of their projects that they're doing for
Yeah.
class.
Could be lots of things. Yeah, input is super valuable to them. Great question.
Beautiful. Another question from Sydney. How do you recommend working an org chart where there are two supervisors for one team? We recently combined our government design team with our private sector design team, and we are now sharing management duties.
I mean, sorry, ask that question one more time, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
How do you recommend working an org chart where there are two supervisors of one team? We recently combined the government design team with the private sector design team and are now sharing management duties.
Okay. I mean, I think it doesn't necessarily matter what the structure is, really. I think it's just what matters to me is just documenting it and showing it visually. So whether it's two people over one team or one or whatever, just having that depicted
Yeah,
basically is helpful.
yeah. Does your designer know who to go to with what issues?
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
That
that's another.
clearly defined. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. So if there are two people, then make it obvious like who goes to which person for what thing. Maybe they split up the duties and this person handles this type of thing and this person handles the other type of thing and make it clear for the people who are under them, definitely.
Awesome. We probably have time for just one more question. If your question is not answered, there's some great other questions in here that we're not getting to. There is a Q&A forum that for questions that didn't get a chance to be answered. So you can just type in the name of the session and get those questions answered from there.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll do one more and then I will get the link to the forum and type it in the chat so that you all can see that and get to it to ask those questions. So,
Great.
from anonymous attendee, we have what workload tool do you use to manage your remote workers that help ensure that they're meeting deliverables? Why is that word so hard? Um, or that flag when designers are beyond capacity when the unanticipated lands back on their plate?
Right. Um, I mean, I personally do this just by physically checking in with the people on, I would say, maybe not a daily basis, but at least every couple of days. Just making sure, like you said, they're not overloaded. And some people can get overloaded really fast and not know when there's a good time to ask for help. So I think just like touching base with them on a very regular basis and figuring out, how they work and just making sure that you're a resource for them that they can go to. Tamara, how about you?
No, I think that's I mean, we have check-ins, but I mean, the biggest thing is we all have experience in this, so we do our jobs, and I think we do it well, and we know to go to Ginger when we have I've got too much on my plate or things like that. It's kind of setting up those things where you can kind of raise your hand and go, I've got too many projects," and that's kind of the beauty of.
Yeah, I think, like, for me also, like, going to them personally and talking about that kind of thing, like, it's helping build my relationship with each designer. Because it's not just about, the mechanics of everything, it's also you wanna build a trust with them and know they wanna know that you have their back and, all kinds of things. So, I feel like that's a really great way to do that. But as far as, like, from a program standpoint, like, we use a time tracking program called Harvest. It's an online time tracking program, and, that could be a way to kinda you can keep up with each individual designer's hours by week and see, like, who are way over or, that kinda stuff. But I feel like the personal check-in has worked the best for me anyway.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tamara and Ginger.
Hey,
So I posted the link to the forum. So if your question wasn't answered, go post it on there. And thank you so much for joining us. There's live content going on now in the main hall. So go check that out. The
Awesome.
next session is going to begin at 2:40. So enjoy that. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It's been fun.